Tonight, another record COVID day in New South Wales. More than 1,200 cases reported, while testing ramps up in Port Augusta with 2 exposure sites declared.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Ruby Kamain begins now.
Good evening. COVID case numbers continue to increase in New South Wales. Another all-time record of 1,290 recorded today. While numbers are stabilising in some regional areas, COVID continues to claw its way into the far west with 9 new infections.
Case numbers climbing, new records almost every day, and it's the same story from the Premier.
The number of cases we have in intensive care then will depend on our vaccination rate.
To 8 p.m. last night, there's a total of 9 cases in Broken Hill, 2 of those new, and a total of 69 in Wilcannia, where a ventilator is now on standby.
It's a transportable ventilator, which means it can be used not only on site but also in transporting patients to Broken Hill.
Health officials concerned there could be unknown cases in Broken Hill where heavy viral loads have been found in sewage.
What that means is there are cases in the community. What we are seeing at the same time is a dramatic decrease in number of people presenting for testing.
The first exposure site in South Broken Hill added late Friday. Anyone who has been to these venues must get tested and isolate until they receive a negative result. Nachiapan's vaccination clinic at the Musicians Club is the latest to offer the Pfizer vaccine. Bookings can be made through the club, while the state-run hub at the Civic Centre is scaling up its operations again.
From tomorrow, we'll be accepting walk-ins as well. Whilst we would prefer for people to book in, but we understand that sometimes that might be difficult.
Broken Hill's mayor warning locals to stay still, pushing for a permit system to travel between regional areas.
I think it's important to make sure that the community and I all understand who's coming into our community when there's this big outbreak.
Food deliveries continue in Wilcannia. Woolworths is working on another bulk delivery, while shoppers at Coles can donate items in store.
This is essentially our 3rd bin that we've filled in less than a week.
The simple things keeping us together as we continue to be forced apart. Lachlan Itter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Almost 1 in 10 Wilcannia residents now has COVID-19, with isolation facilities being established for those who can't safely stay at home. Rumours suggesting all infected patients would be relocated to Broken Hill today quashed by local health officials. Lachlan Itter returns with the latest.
The Far West Local Health District has confirmed there are 2 isolation facilities in Broken Hill. 7 Spencer Golf News and Local Health have chosen not to identify the sites for safety and privacy reasons, but we're told they could be used for close contacts and positive cases, and nobody will be forced to relocate.
These decisions are not made lightly. There is a high level of risk assessment is done. Security is paramount at these facilities.
Wilcannia's Local Emergency Management Committee says a development application for medium-term accommodation has been approved to address ongoing housing shortages in the town, while Broken Hill's mayor has lashed out at those who have directed abuse towards businesses taking on close contacts, many of whom are Indigenous.
Unacceptable behaviour. Racism is racism. This is what we did last year. No race debate. This year, I'm just completely disappointed.
The only local to be hospitalised with COVID tested positive while isolating as a close contact.
Meanwhile, extensive COVID-19 testing is taking place in Port Augusta after 2 exposure sites were declared. Exposed patrons entering quarantine along with their household contacts.
99 people ordered into isolation as a precaution after the announcement of 2 COVID-19 exposure sites in Port Augusta. A pair of contagious New South Wales truck drivers visiting IOR Petroleum and the OTR service station on the 21st, 25th and 26th of August.
People have said to me we'll be lucky. I don't believe we have. I think the region and our community in particular has been very stringent on what the rules are.
The truck drivers arrived in Port Augusta on August 21 during their trip to Nundaroo before returning to New South Wales. The pair then entered South Australia again on the 25th. Stopping at the same Port Augusta locations for the 2nd time. SA Health says the truck drivers followed COVID rules and have been very cooperative. But the real challenge now comes in trying to track down residents that may have been at exposure sites but did not QR code in. SA Health now using bank details and CCTV footage to prevent missing anyone.
16 people attended the On the Run at Port Augusta who did not check in. So that is a concern to us because we haven't been able to contact them.
Due to the risk of potential outbreak, Port Augusta football teams were turned away from their games, and public events such as the visiting Show on the Road were dramatically downsized.
Due to, COVID-19, we've been cut down big time, probably 50 or 60%.
SA Health says if you visited IOR Petroleum or the OTR service station, but not at the specified date and time, monitor yourself and get tested as soon as symptoms develop. Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
To today's other news now, and the state's childcare industry may be about to face a staffing crisis. More than 140 childcare jobs in South Australia are currently being advertised on seek.com. The number of vacant jobs 58% higher than this time last year. The United Workers Union says excessive workloads, low pay and staff feeling undervalued are to blame for the lack of interest. Still to come tonight, a teacher union calls for an alternative to NAPLAN testing. And environmental projects across the Spencer Gulf received welcomed funding. Welcome back. The Teachers Union is calling for the federal and state governments to reconsider NAPLAN, citing the high-stakes nature of the controversial tests. However, the Education Minister believes the tests still play a role in monitoring student progress.
It's an unnecessary pressure the union believes children and teachers shouldn't have to face. Each year, controversy arises from parents and teaching groups surrounding the high-stakes nature of NAPLAN.
NAPLAN over the years has morphed into something much bigger than what it was originally intended to, and it's now trying to meet too many purposes.
The South Australian branch of the Australian Education Union calling to put assessment back into the hands of teachers. President Lara Golding says there needs to be a complete overhaul of how governments undertake national tests.
A report by the Gonski Institute earlier this year found that NAPLAN was not fit for purpose and that it adds to the pressure of teachers and students.
Last year, NAPLAN was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, the test resumed this year. The state's education minister says the test is useful for gauging student achievement in key learning areas.
NAPLAN is one tool, it's only one tool, but it's a very useful tool. It gives you a snapshot of how our schools and our system is going in terms of those critical literacy and numeracy skills.
The full results of this year's test will be progressively released throughout the year. Mark Zita, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The Eyre Peninsula Community Foundation has opened its grant rounds for this year. The foundation encouraging local organisations who make a real difference to communities around the region to apply for the funding.
Small community grants for 2021 now open. The Eyre Peninsula Community Foundation ready to support businesses and individuals throughout the region.
Provide funding to approved applicants to assist them with their projects within their own Eyre Peninsula communities.
The organisation, established in 2008, working to assist non-for-profit organisations, and says it has covered a wide area and range of activities.
We've done a huge number of grants since inception, and they cover a whole range of areas from book clubs, men's sheds, tennis coaching for the crowd up at Wirrala.
Proposals for locally run and led volunteer projects focusing on sustainable long-term community development and capacity building are invited. Funding amounts vary.
Grants are restricted to amounts between $500 and $2,000, and that may not cover the entire cost of their project, but it goes some way to making that possible.
Volunteers at the Book Bazaar helping to contribute to the Foundation's corpus.
It survives on volunteers and volunteer groups doing a wonderful job in keeping the culture of the Eyre Peninsula alive.
The grant round opens today, running until Friday, September 24. Head to the Foundation's website for more information and to apply. Dylan Smith, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Meanwhile, projects across the Eyre Peninsula have also been given a boost. thanks to extra funding from the state government. The Grassroots Grants program, helping communities rejuvenate local environments and natural resources.
A major boost to community groups helping to improve local landscapes. The Eyre Peninsula Landscape Board handing out more than $100,000 worth of grants for projects.
We opened it up for applications a while ago and we received 19 applications asking for $130,000 of funds.
Grassroots grants offered each year by the state government through the local landscape board regions. The EPLB saying this year's 14 projects are important in protecting local environments.
It's very satisfying and it's consistent with the reform process that the current government put in place around natural resource management, and that is putting community at the centre and assisting local communities.
One of the recipients of this year's Grassroots grants is the Whyalla City Council, who will use the funding for improvements at Point Lowly.
Our northern coastline is a really popular place to camp, and if someone's campground's taken that they might come to, they might just go and make another one, and that can sometimes push into the bush.
The Lower Eyre Coast Care Group, also another recipient, working with Lake Wangari School to rejuvenate the coastline of the Lower Eyre Peninsula. Applications for the next round of Grassroots grants will open mid-next year. Mark Zita, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
There are further signs the health of the Menindee lakes is improving, with good numbers of fish recently spotted. These juvenile golden perch among those found in Lake Corndilla, following increased flows into the system. The Menindee lakes are expected to fill to capacity in the coming weeks, with plans to release water down the Great Darling Anna branch to assist with fish dispersal. Stay with us after the break. Port Lincoln Council invites local tradies to network over a beer, and COVID scares in Port Augusta lead to sport cancellations over the weekend. Hello again. Young writers on the Eyre Peninsula now have the opportunity to learn new skills from industry professionals. Writers SA is expanding its offerings into the regions, paving the way for future generations to realise their writing potential.
A program designed to help budding young writers in the regions. The No Limits program helping to provide industry pathways for budding regional writers.
Yeah, so the program will involve workshops, commissions, working with young writers and helping them find publishing, getting them in touch with the industry.
Writers SA making the decision to expand its offerings to 3 major regions outside of Adelaide. The Riverland and the Limestone Coast, part of the expansion.
Time to put our money where our mouth is and to actually have staff who are out representing and reaching as many writers as possible.
Also saying it is important for writers to have access to the same resources as people from the major cities.
So we wanted to create a program that enables young people to learn about writing and the publishing industry and connect them with it in their town,
while urging local schools and community groups to get on board.
When we say young people in the program, we're sort of talking people under 30, so we're also looking for people who are out of school and wanting to get involved in something creative.
The program looking to be rolled out within the next month. To find out more information and how to get involved in the program, head to the Writers SA Facebook page. Dylan Smith, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The Port Lincoln Council is looking at new ways to connect with local tradies and businesses. Council inviting trade services and businesses to the Ravendale Community Sports Centre next Monday afternoon for a beer and some banter. It's an opportunity to connect with Council and be aware of future tenders, with Council putting out a tender for trade services in the coming weeks. Attendees will receive a complimentary drink on arrival with nibbles provided. The Port Augusta COVID scare saw all Spencer Gulf Football League matches and local netball cancelled over the weekend. The SGL president says SA Health and SAPOL have done a great job and is hopeful to get footy back on track.
There was an eerie feeling at the weekend, with sporting locations across the region left empty. Sport brought to a standstill, a snap decision seeing Spencer Gulf Football League and Port Augusta netball matches cancelled.
It's put us in a fairly a difficult situation at the moment, but we'll work through that. We have no confidence in this week resuming even.
Port Pirie and Port Augusta football teams unable to play their last round before finals, and there's no certainty as to when the round can return. The SGL holding a meeting tonight discussing what the rest of the season might look like.
We had a Zoom meeting on Saturday morning around 11. We come up with a strategy. We'll review that tonight and work from there as to where we go from here.
For now, while there are no games, Pirie teams are still able to train. Port Augusta netballers waiting patiently for the all clear, unsure as to whether they'll get to start their finals this weekend.
Ultimately, the best interest of the community and the safety of the community is a higher priority, and hopefully we'll be able to get back to finals soon.
However, netballers took to the court in Port Pirie at the weekend for their preliminary finals. While there are concerns around COVID being so close to home, they're hoping to get through the season, gearing up for their grand finals this weekend.
We are concerned about it because we're getting towards the end of our season and we want to finish our season certainly, and we are monitoring SA Health constantly with updates to see how we're impacted and what we need to do to change.
Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. We'll hear the results from those sport games which still went ahead. And Alex Sykes will join us with all the weather details. I'll see you soon. Welcome back. While the Spencer Gulf Football League saw its matches cancelled over the weekend, other leagues in the region still took to the Oval. Our reporter Katrina Musson has this week's footy wrap.
In Northern Areas football, teams kick-started their semi-finals this week, with Broughton Mundora securing their spot in the grand final. On Saturday, it was Orroroo and Broughton Mundora with the stakes high for both sides. In a tight match, Orroroo held strong in the first and second quarter, leading by 2 points at half-time. But Broughton Mundora came back fighting. A 5-goal to 1/3 term gave them a 16-point lead with a quarter to play. Broughton Mundora holding to win 58-55. They head straight through to the big one in a fortnight's time. In the other match, Bullaroo Melrose Wilmington came from behind to overrun Southern Flinders by 16 points. They will face Orroroo in next week's preliminary final. Over to Whyalla now, and Friday's match between West Whyalla and Waroona Bay was a showstopper. West finishing off the regular season in style, the final score 45-32. Saturday saw a close match between Rupina and South Whyalla. Rupina put up a good fight, but South just snagged a win by 1 point, handing their opponents the wooden spoon. In the other game, and Central Whyalla smashed North, defeating them by 73 points. And finally to Port Lincoln, Wayback secured a win over Lincoln South by 43 points. Mallee Park smashed Boston, the final score 135-55. And Marble Range also had a big win over Tasman, winning by 10 goals. And that's all for footy. We'll be back tomorrow night with a wrap-up of the region's other sports.
Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Alex Sykes.
Thanks, Ruby, and good evening, everyone. Well, spring is well and truly in the air and we're in for a beautiful week of weather, but there will be some showers towards the end. I'll have more details on that a little further down the bulletin. From 3 p.m. today, Port Augusta was partly cloudy and 24, similar conditions for Clare and 16, and Cooper Pedy reached 26 degrees. Looking further out across the region now, Whyalla partly cloudy and 23 degrees. Woodnor was mostly sunny, also reached 23. Port Lincoln and Cleve were mostly sunny and top 20 degrees. Broken Hill and Kadina were partly cloudy, also 20 degrees. Port Pirie partly cloudy and 22, and it was mostly sunny for Adelaide and reached 18 degrees there. Taking a look at the satellite image now, high cloud over southern South Australia. Ahead of a front is not rain-bearing. Skies are generally clear elsewhere in the state under high pressure and dry winds. And a short time ago, there was a marine wind warning for South Australia. Moving on to to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. North to northwesterly winds 10 to 15 knots, seas 1 metre, and south to southwesterly swells around 1 to 1.5 metres. Looking at tomorrow's temperatures now, Port Lincoln is said to be partly cloudy and 20 degrees, mostly sunny for Cleve and will reach 22 there, and Woodnurt to be sunny and reach 24 degrees. While it's sunny and 25, certainly heating up for Port Augusta, sunny and set to top 29 degrees there, and Kadina set to be mostly sunny and 21. Port Pirie set to be sunny and 25, Clare sunny and 20, and Broken Hill will top 26 degrees. Taking a look further through the week now, sunny across the region on Wednesday, partly cloudy for Adelaide, and it really will heat up on the last day of winter. Cooper Pedy and Port Augusta is set to top 33, Kadina and Port Lincoln will get to 26 degrees. And the first day of spring will bring with it some windy conditions. Port Lincoln and Adelaide will be partly cloudy, Broken Hill will be sunny and reach 31 degrees, windy across the rest of the Gulf. 35 will be the top for the region, while 28 will be the lowest it will get to. And Friday is where we will see some showers and lower temperatures. Cooper Pedy will be partly cloudy and 22. Broken Hill will reach 27 degrees. Port Augusta to top 21. Woodnurt to reach 15. Whyalla and Port Pirie both to top 19. Kadina will get to a high of 17. Adelaide to top 18 degrees. So Ruby, a real mixed bag of conditions there throughout the week, but we really are starting to see the back of winter. It's hard to believe that we are already near the end of August. Time is just flying. Well, that's all in weather from me for tonight. I'll see you later this evening with an update. It's back to you.
Lovely, thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Monday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.